Hello, Blythe, Evie, Joe, Jack, Callum, Cadence, Lucy, Orion, and anyone else who's listening. Welcome to Story Time. Today's story is Pete the Cat, Crayons Rock by Kimberly and James Dean. It's dedicated by James Dean. He says Matthew chapter 6 verse 34. And he wants us to pay attention to something in the Bible, in the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus says, don't worry about what comes tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. And then Kimberly Dean dedicates it to BS. Thank you for encouraging me every day. Love always, Kimberly Dean. Pete the Cat, Crayons Rock by Kimberly and James Dean. It's a Harper book. So it begins. Pete loves his big box of groovy crayons. He loves to draw things like cars, trucks, flowers, and trees. And most of all, the big blue sea. Oh boy, he's got a great box of crayons, and look at that big blue sea. Look at everything he's drawn up on the wall. Wow. From rockin' red to cool cat blue, with a box of crayons, there's nothing Pete can't do. Ooh, he's cool. One day, Pete decided to draw something new. His friends! Oh boy, using lots of colors is so much fun. Pete wanted to use every one. He scribbled and drew a great big smile. His drawings were groovy and rockin' with style. Crayons rock. Pete was proud of the pictures he drew. He hoped his friends would dig them too. Pete showed Grumpy Toad first. Grumpy Toad said, "This doesn't look right. Those colors are way too bright." What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. Pete thought, "Hey, no sweat. That's all right. The next one will be dynamite." So the next one is for Gus. For Gus from Pete. Pete showed Gus his picture too. Gus asked, "Who is this supposed to be? It doesn't really look like me." "I think it looks pretty good, don't you?" Poor Pete. Pete thought, "Hey, no sweat. That's all right. The next one will be just right." For Callie from Pete. Pete finally showed Callie her picture. Callie said, "This one is fine, but it feels like something's missing from mine." Maybe it's her whiskers missing. You think? Pete said, "What a mess! Bummer. I guess my drawings aren't the best." Pete started to frown. He put his crayons down. Aw, now he thinks he can't draw. In art class, the teacher asked, "Pete, what are you going to make?" "I don't know. I'm afraid of making a mistake." Pete looked around. Gus drew the coolest superheroes. Callie's flowers were awesome, out of sight. Grumpy's motorcycle was just right. Pete's heart sank. His paper was blank. The gang looked at Pete and said, "No sweat. It's all right. It doesn't have to be just right. Your art is cool because it's you. Your art is so unique. Grab your groovy box of crayons, so show us your technique." A technique is like your way of doing something. The teacher agreed. Art should be fun. Art is for everyone. From rockin' red to cool cat blue, with a box of crayons, there's nothing you can't do. Pete smiled. There are no rules. It's no big deal. Art is about how it makes you feel. Pete loved his cool art. That's the one thing Pete knew. Suddenly, Pete knew exactly what to do. You see the light bulb up above his head? That means he got an idea. He tried again. Instead of drawing them one by one, Pete drew the whole gang, just having fun. Oh boy, look at those crayons in the school bus. Look, Rockin' Red is playing a guitar. Wow! Way to go, Pete! That's a rockin' masterpiece! Grumpy Toad, Gus, and Callie agreed. Pete's picture was off the charts. See, that's the groovy thing about art. Wow, that is a cool picture, isn't it? With the rainbow above them. And look, Gus is playing the drums, and Grumpy Toad is playing the guitar, and Pete's playing the guitar. Callie must be singing and dancing. The best art comes from the heart. Crayons rock. The end. On the inside of the cover, it tells the story of Kimberly and James Dean. In 2004, they sat down and started working on a children's book together. And their dream finally became true with the release of Pete the Cat and his magic sunglasses. And they both left their corporate jobs in the late 90s. James Dean was an electrical engineer, and Kimberly worked in the press office of the governor of Georgia. So they left their jobs to pursue their passion for art. And they have been creating art ever since. There's Pete with his crayons. Don't you love those nice boxes of crayons with so many colors? Well, I hope you liked that story. I hope you're still taking good care of yourselves. I hope you're loving on each other, and that you're loving yourself just the way you are, and you're loving all the things that you create, whether it's dancing, singing, art, science experiments, all the wonderful things you can do. And never forget, I love each one of you to the moon and back. We'll be back together for story time tomorrow when we read another story. Bye-bye.